Hello and welcome to yet another episode of FPL Escapades, where we are looking back at Game Week 34 plus and reviewing Game Week 35 plus. I'm Kshitij and I'm again joined by my best friends Anand and Akshay. Akshay, how was the week for you? 71 points, not that bad, but not that good either. Still at the top of all the mini leagues, I
Yeah,
suppose.
70. Yeah, absolutely. 71 points, not that bad, but captaincy fail yet again. And I went with the bandwagon pick of Kevin De Bruyne and not backing my United assets yet again because, as I told in the last one, I want to watch the United game peacefully. But I'm losing points there, so I think I have to make a right decision next week because we are facing Southampton, and I think we are going to score goals there again. And just to start for our listeners, Manchester United is now the first club in Premier League history to win 4 games with a margin of 3 goals. So it's not just some PE teacher who's our manager right now. So he's doing something behind the scenes, and you can see the improvement. And like that was the highlight for me personally because I think Aston Villa was supposed to be a tough game for us because they are fighting relegation and they have some players who are ready for the fight, and in particular Jack Grealish. So, but we walked them out of the park despite the VAR controversy on the penalty. But I think we deserve that win thoroughly, and 3-0 is nothing less than what we deserved.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking about United's game, definitely the blue part of Manchester as well. Manchester City walking Newcastle out of the park. And as we were discussing last week, sadly, we were not able to post that episode out because of technical glitches and whatnot. But yeah, Manchester City and all the captain picks definitely walked that line. I personally feel that that 5-0 win over Newcastle for Manchester City does pave way for more debates for the captain picks. Personally, for me, I also joined the bandwagon for KDB, and I think that again my captain not firing, but now I think I'm back to my old ways of jinxing everybody who's captaining the same player like me. Manchester City was a good game to watch against Newcastle, and also Arsenal versus like Leicester. Really unlucky to get that red card and Jamie Vardy scoring that goal and missing a couple of assists as well. So I think the Vardy party is here to stay. We had similar game weeks, even though your captain pick was really spot on with Bruno. How was your game week overall, and what games did you fancy?
Actually, yeah, Bruno thing is like a magical wand for me right now. Three successful captain weeks for me. He has returned 15, 15, and 14 points. And because he was the captain, you just double it. So it becomes really amazing over there. One pick that I personally liked was I brought in Dawson, and that was really amazing because he came and scored a goal. Probably he would have kept a clean sheet as well. But I think I'll still take that. I think I agree with you guys. United City really looking on top of their game. Liverpool, I mean Mohamed Salah, what a player he has been for Liverpool. He has been like one of the highest. He's probably the highest scoring fantasy midfielder for the last 3 seasons, and last game as well. A lot of people sold him. So that game was really interesting as well because Brighton looked really sharp. The likes of Lamptey and Trossard finding feet in the Premier League finally. So that was a game that I really liked. I think the game that I really enjoyed watching was Crystal Palace versus Chelsea from a neutral perspective. It was there was a lot of goals. Uh, Chelsea won eventually 3-2 in the end, but then Crystal Palace gave in a tough fight, especially after Gary Cahill got injured. And coming back from, they kept on coming back, they kept on scoring goals. Patrice Van Aanholt, I think he was really nice in that game. He was bombing forward. So overall, I mean, a great game week. 76 points, we'll take it any day. Uh, Foden, talking from City's perspective, I had Foden in my team. That was something which really killed me in this week because Foden missed a couple of sitters. He could have scored them. I just read somewhere that it was easy. It was easier to score and difficult to miss. That was the extent at which Foden went. He missed a couple of absolute sitters. So yeah, overall like really nice, really good game week. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Really good game week for me as well. I now plan to play my bench boost in game week 37 plus, and I have to make my transfers corresponding game week 37 plus now, because all in all, my team does look okay, but definitely I've had enough of Calvert Lewin as well as it. From a defense perspective, I still feel you can still keep them because there's a potential for return. But I've given Jimenez a lot of chances, and it's been three consecutive game weeks that he's been blanking. And last night also he gave me a couple of points, and Calvert Lewin just gave me one. And Danny Ings in that game where Everton played Southampton, he just outplayed Calvert Lewin as a striker. So that is something that I am keeping in mind going into game week 35 plus and the transfers that I have. I banked a free transfer, so now have two free transfers going into the game week 35 plus. And also, since I need to play my bench boost, I'm getting into the mindset of getting in players who have easier fixtures in game week 37 plus, so that I can have more returns from my bench boost. So
Do you remember you said Danny Ings will not score against Everton?
Definitely, man. Danny Ings has been proving me wrong for a very long time now. I actually wrote him off as soon as the Project Restart was announced, and since the very first gaming 30 plus, I believe it was, when I said that Danny Ings will definitely fall out of his form and scoring grace. But he's proven me wrong for consecutive weeks now.
And I pointed out because it's you who have said he will not score, he's definitely going to score against Everton.
Yeah,
So
definitely. So I might have to keep a close eye on all of the players who are in our mini league who are trying to get in
just,
players in.
just for all the United supporters, just please say this: Danny Ings is going to score against United. Can you please do this?
Oh, definitely he's going to score against United, and I'm going to get him in my team as well. So
That's it.
hopefully that breaks
He's
the
out.
jinx.
That means he's not going to be good news for all the United.
I hope so. I hope so, and definitely, and everyone who's planning to bring Danny Ings into their team, you should reconsider, because well, this is just the way it is.
He's
And
going
yeah, and he might score. He definitely will score according to me.
definitely
So
because you have said he is going to score. Definitely, he's definitely blanking.
I hope so too. I hope so too. So Akshay, any final thoughts on to review Game Week 35 plus as assets?
Yeah, just a shout out to John Egan. He was a cult hero in the double game week where he bagged a clean sheet, then got a red card, then fell out with FPL managers, and suddenly people are looking at him again because he scored back-to-back goals. He's been wiping out clean sheets here and there, and people with Wolves defense like Anand here, he had two Wolves defense, so that clean sheet wipeout in the 93rd minutes is really harsh because Doherty, who I personally own, he was on bonus points. And coming back to Foden, I'm not really gutted right now because I know that he'll get the chances under Guardiola because he's impressed under Guardiola after the restart. And despite him missing glorious chances, because I was watching the game and it felt bad when he missed those chances because on another day he would have buried them right, left, and center. So for Foden owners, I would like to just tell them stick with him because he will deliver big hauls. He is not one who will come off the bench and give you a 1 point here and there because he's the man for the big hauls and he's occupying the roles behind the penalty areas and playing through passes like the ones we saw with David Silva. So for Foden owners, I think you should stick with him. Coming to Jimenez, so Jimenez is one people are looking to offload right now because of his barren run in the last 3 games. He's blanked, but then he's playing Everton, so I think that is a side that will suit him maybe. And no Traore is good for me because I have Doherty and Doherty will have more license. So I think Jimenez is bagging a goal against Everton.
Yeah, I hope so too, because I've been hoping for the same for the last three game weeks, where Jimenez has been blanking, and I am also slowly running out of patience. But to replace Calvert Lewin, I'm thinking of either Vardy or Giroud. Like I said, Jesus, like Anand, you pointed out, is a good pick as well. Akshay, what do you think about the forward picks? For someone like me, I know that you've had Vardy over the last couple of weeks, and you've gotten great returns from him as well. So, what is your opinion about the forward lineup?
Yeah, really happy to be a Vardy owner first of all because he's playing Bournemouth and that is perhaps the juiciest fixture you would want right now. So Leicester are lacking a little when it comes to creativity because the likes of Chilwell and Madison are out as confirmed by Brendan Rodgers earlier today. But I think Kelechi Nacho has rised up after the injury, and as you can see in the last three games, he's come off the bench twice and scored twice as well. So Iheanacho could be a massive differential because Leicester are going to score goals against Bournemouth, and apart from Vardy, I think that is your cheap route into the Leicester attack, given that Madison is not present right now. And coming to Mason Greenwood, I just cannot be happier about the lad, man, because with an xG of 2.97, he has scored 9 goals. So if I'm not wrong, those are the numbers, and like it's so impressive to watch him. Like there are people who are stat busters, but he's topping them all. And with no xg, he's scoring goals left, right, center. You just don't know which is his weak foot. So as a Rashford owner, I know it's difficult for me to do that downgrade right now, but I'm still sticking with Rashford for now, and I would not like to go for Mason right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but having said that, Greenwood for the second consecutive week has been the most transferred in player, followed by Jamie Vardy and Willian. So Vardy does definitely look like a very juicy option going against Bournemouth this next week. But yeah, that remains to be seen as to how I plan on making at least my transfers for the upcoming game week. With that, we move on to midfielders. And Anand, I'd like to come to you with Bruno, your set and forget captain, giving you a total of 44 points in 3 game weeks where you'd captain him. So essentially earning 88 points out of him, including bonus and everything. So definitely makes you a happy man. Salah has been replaced by Mane. Most likely he started the last game and Mane was rested. So most likely Mane is somebody who might start, and KDB again is on 223 fantasy points that equate him and Salah right at the top of the midfield. So pretty great combination of essential midfielders, and definitely I'd like love to hear from you about Bruno, and along with that, any other differential or cheap midfielder for your pick going into the next game weeks.
I think enough said about Bruno, and KDB has finally, raised his hand for friendship and asked him to join the Set and Forget club. He's been like, Bruno, let's do it, brother. And but honestly, coming on a serious note, Bruno looks very central for United. He's taking set pieces, he's taking penalties. These things, and okay, a lot of other people like Madison is also like a set piece specialist, or Gylfi Sigurdsson. But what is there in Bruno that that stands him out? The quality that Bruno possesses, he also likes shooting a lot. He has a very good header in him. We saw in the last match against Villa, that was like a really good header, almost on target. And the guy looks like getting a brace every game. So he's very central, playing just behind striker. Oli is giving him freedom to interchange with Rashford and say Greenwood and Marshall on the wings and anywhere. So these are qualities that is taking him strong. But like Bruno said himself, I think he wouldn't have been doing so well if United as a team weren't gelling. So United as a team are doing pretty well as well, and I think uh, Bruno just looks like an essential. The defining moment for me was when Bruno played 120 minutes against Norwich in FA Cup, and then he came on and played the match for United just 2 days later. That was the defining moment for me. I understood one thing, that Ole cannot overlook him, and Oli cannot, think of a team without having Bruno's name on that sheet. So these are things that really you know just made me absolutely sure that Bruno could be the guy whom you should captain every week. I think apart from Bruno, one differential that I wanted to talk about was Saint Maximilian. But now about this guy, what I personally feel is he is a little raw, that's for sure. But then he faces Watford, so I think the entire Watford team is raw. So jokes apart, I think Saint has had a week's break, like Steve Bruce indicated. So he will be coming back. Although I had him in my team a week back, but I have replaced him uh, by Phil Foden. I have replaced him by Foden. But even then, I still feel that Saint has potential in him. Given Watford would like to score goals because they have no easy route, they have to score, they have to win match, and you can't win match by defending the game. So they will give Saint a lot of space to run in behind. So I think that could be a good game for Saint. Your favorite boy, Saka. I think he looks like a good differential, sorry, like a good cheapy pick as well, or you can call it like an enabler if you want a fifth guy in your on your bench who can just come in and replace somebody in case your other top picks do not start. So I think Saka. Do you want to add something on Saka?
2 game weeks back to back he's returned, and he was my first substitution in both of those games wherein I put in my trust in Jimenez and Calvert Lewin. But yeah, that said, definitely making space for him for going ahead in the next game weeks. Definitely might not go triple up on City because Saka for me has done wonders, and also there's just not space in my team or the financial to either triple up on City or get another midfielder or an attacker from United because I've already tripled up. But definitely Saka's really interesting to see, really coming of age. Definitely plays well alongside Lacazette and Aubameyang as well. Akshay, I wanted to come to you and talk about these differentials in these midfielders. Paul Pogba scoring finally after a very very long time, and also Antonio. Great shouts, aren't they, for differentials? And what is on your mind regarding the midfielders going into game week 35 plus?
Yeah, really happy for Paul Pogba. He's got that goal and he can now take that stride forward and contribute with assists and goals with the likes of Bruno and the front three that we have. Pogba was more sitting deep and creating for Bruno rather than for the other forward line. So he has brought that into his game, and that was like gigs with the corner and Scholes with a goal. So it gave those memories, and really happy for Pogba, and he could be a massive differential because when he'll explode, he might give you a 15-20 point haul on any day. And talking about Harvey Barnes, so I trusted him after the restart, and Brendan Rodgers somehow decided to manage his minutes. I don't know why. It could be down to injury, but he's getting back into his stride. And in the last game, when Vardy scored a brace, Harvey Barnes came off the bench and supplied both the assists. So I think Harvey Barnes could be starting against Bournemouth, and Spurs they struggled against Bournemouth because I felt they lacked pace on both flanks. Son did not start, so there was no one taking on the defenders, and that made it really easy for Bournemouth. And I don't think Leicester will do that. So the likes of Demari Gray and Harvey Barnes, they could exploit the fullbacks, and you could see Harvey Barnes profiting from that. So he could be a massive differential. And massive shout out to Bukayo Saka, man. He was a enabler once, but I think he can be a starter right now because he's playing in that Arsenal front three with Aubameyang and Lacazette. So he's contributing with assists, as you can see in the last game. So he's a really good cheap option. Yeah.
Before moving on to the defenders, Anand, I and Akshay, both of you, I just had a quick question. Say Bruno took the penalty last night, right? So does that, going into game week 35 plus, does that give Rashford another chance of taking the penalty next time when it comes, or do you think that Bruno will again take the penalty? Because people on Twitter have been calling him the penalty merchant all of a sudden, but they tend to forget that taking penalty also requires skill because penalties can be saved or you do hit off target. But from a return perspective between Rashford and Bruno, Anand, I'd like to hear from you because Bruno, you might be thinking of leaving the captain armband of Bruno again. Do you think that Rashford has more chances of taking a penalty or a spot kick because Bruno took it last game week, and also we've seen that they do rotate between each other?
So I also heard it somewhere that it's actually these players are deciding on the ground itself rather than giving it a number that I'll take one and you take another. I think it's more about how the player is feeling during whenever the penalty has been given. It's more about that, I feel. Also, I think if it's the first penalty of the match, uh, maybe like seeing the trend that happened in the last match, if you can recall, Rashford was the one who took the penalty. We may see Rashford taking it again, but then it's proper. It has to do something with the call and the confidence on the ground. you know, these players, they are like family. They work together, they play together, and they do discuss it amongst themselves. I think Oli is giving them the freedom, and maybe taking out the pressure from the players, and just giving them the freedom that you three are the best. And by three I mean, I'm mixing even Paul Pogba in the mix. You three are the best guys. So why don't you decide it amongst yourself during the training? So probably they decide this during the training once they take a lot of shots, and see who is doing better, and then probably they decide it among themselves, and then they take it. Or maybe Oli during after the training takes a call that who is being good right now. So it's a very difficult call to predict, and I think you should never look at a captain just because he's scoring a penalty. Because what if there's no penalty in the match? Uh, it has to be it has to be on the basis of the players' involvement in the match. And because Bruno is playing so central, I personally feel the reason that why I captain Bruno is because Bruno is playing really central, while Rashford is playing a little bit on the wings. Although he's drifting in, he's not playing as a winger, but he's drifting in, right? So, I mean, my point for captaincy is not penalties, but rather, he's playing really central.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Akshay, do you agree, or do you indeed go look at the spot kick takers for team before you hand over the captain armband to somebody?
No, the fact that they do rotate spot kicks is the only reason why I'm sticking with Rashford right now, because I think he'll get the next one and he needs that for his confidence, because the other players are scoring for fun and he's the one missing out. Whereas before the lockdown, he was the one banging in goals and the others were watching. So I think, as Anand spoke, the unit right now is a happy place to be. When Marshall came off yesterday, he was really gutted that he couldn't score a goal because his shot first hit the underside of the bar, then the far post. So really unlucky to not score there. And the front line in general, they would want Rashford to score, and that would make them happy alongside Rashford as well. Because as a team, you want everyone to score. You're not fighting for any golden boot or anything like that. So Rashford is due, yes. And coming back to Bruno, I think I have to agree because I have failed 3 times in a row when he has done the treble. So I have to agree, man. Bruno is the one with the big horse.
Yeah, good points. And Antonio, for me, might be able to have some impact on that since Norwich and Bournemouth are whipping boys, as we like to call them. So definitely Antonio, and he's been doing some great stuff as well. 4 goals and 4 assists with just ownership just over one, which is only 1.4. So definitely, I look forward to watching him play, but that just doesn't, for me personally, cut it for Antonio or any other team for that matter. Akshay, you have any other thoughts on this?
Oh no, yeah, West Ham are looking impressive, but you spoke about consistency, so I would have to agree with you on that because despite the fact that Bowen and Antonio they are attacking for West Ham, and Antonio being a midfielder playing as a forward, so that might give you that extra point. But then I'm not really sure with West Ham and David Moyes, as I spoke earlier as well. So that consistency factor will be in your mind when you are getting a midfielder for 6.9, because he's not exactly cheap. He might be a differential at that ownership, but he's not exactly cheap. And at that 6.9 price, you might want to look at other options like Pulisic and Willian, who are firing for Chelsea.
Yeah, definitely. But a really great point, Anand, talking about Norwich and how they are whipping boys. So now moving on to defenders, I actually wanted to talk about Taylor, who I want to get in my team for game week 37. That is when Burnley will be facing Norwich. And Taylor coming off from an 11-point haul, and Burnley, team Nick Pope, the goalkeeper, and I feel that the defender, at least one defender from that team, might help me in my bench boost chip when I play it in game week 37 plus. So Taylor definitely is somebody who I'm looking to transfer in. Might be this game week or might be next, but definitely has to happen before game week 37 when they play Norwich. Apart from that, I already do own Virgil van Dijk, who has, I guess, from the Liverpool defense, the least chances of being rotated, unlike Robertson and Trent. And sadly, I do really want to own Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but since I've already triple up on United, I can't. So for me, Van Dijk and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are definitely great shouts, along with Taylor, who not for this game week or not for the next, but definitely for me personally, from a game week 37 plus perspective, is definitely something to look at. Akshay, you feel the same way, or because again, like we've been discussing for the past couple of weeks, that now we are at a stage where managers wouldn't really want to make transfers or waste free transfers on defenders unless you want to play a chip. So do you agree with that, or do you have a real shout? And where are you at with your Matt Ritchie substitution?
Yeah, no, Matt Ritchie, I am sticking with him because I think this is the final game in my team for him. And I want to speak about Trent, so people might be surprised we don't have that name in our essentials because he's a set and forget essential for your defensive line. And we've replaced him with Robertson here because the fact that Robertson came off the bench at halftime in the previous game, I don't think he would have come on at halftime if Nico Williams would not have been struggling with that yellow card and Lamptey bombing forward. So he did not have that in mind. And what I think personally is that Klopp planned to rotate Nico Williams with Trent and Robertson together. So that was his plan, and I expect Trent to be benched next week. But Trent is a massively owned player in the FPL community. So if he ends up giving a haul even off the bench, you might end up seeing red arrows. So I think I'm not going to make that switch right now. So coming to Van Dijk, yes, as I spoke to you offline as well, I think he's the least rotation risk player in the Liverpool defense right now, and he's played all the 90 minutes in all the games so far. And he's also an aerial threat with Liverpool's corners. So he's not been scoring lately, you can say that, but you never know when a goal might come because he's lethal with those set pieces in corners and free kicks. So you might get that haul anytime. And I would just like to point out about a cheapie in Garcia. So Pep has been rotating his defense line, as we know the Pep rule. So Garcia might start the next one alongside Laporte. So Garcia is a massive shout for a cheap and a differential because he's owned by only 0.6% teams. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Garcia does look like a great shout. But Anand, coming to you, I mean, last game week, 34 plus, I think 10, 15 minutes before the deadline, when we were on a call, you decided to bring in Dawson, and he absolutely fired for you just before the deadline. That decision working well for you. So, are you really happy with your defense of Doherty, Dawson, Boli, and Alonso, or do you feel that you would like to substitute out or transfer out some of the players for the defenders that we have here?
Like I promised you guys, I have two defenders in mind uh, for this game week. Like I had Dawson in the last game week. So for this game week, I have Justin from Leicester in my mind. And shout out to Ronaldinho, Neil, who has done an incredible job bringing the FPL community together by launching this application Get Playmaker. So he was, there is something about Ronaldinho, he always has a feeling about defenders. I don't know if that is, I'm starting to start, I have started to get the same feeling or not. But then he spoke about Pereira some time back, which probably made him famous, as he always talks about. Then a few weeks back, he took a free hit and he played Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, and Trent. And you wouldn't believe all three returned. So this was the match against Crystal Palace. Robertson gave an assist. Trent scored a goal. Van Dijk won a free kick, which Trent eventually scored the goal from. So Van Dijk got an assist as well. So that was like a huge, explosive defensive line he had. A couple of weeks back, he predicted that Egan might score, and this is not the Wolves match, the match before, and Egan scored in that match. And then in the last game week, he was saying, I see Patrice Van Aanholt marching forward. And then he suddenly came out from somewhere and he gave an assist. So this is a shout out to him because he named Patrice. And I think Patrice facing Aston Villa can be a great shout out. Uh, he's looking good. He has always had a tendency to finish high. But let's see what happens with Patrice. He was my first choice, but because I didn't have enough money in my bank, so I let go of Alonso and I brought in Justin. Justin is my pick. Just like I liked how Dawson was doing before I picked him in, because I liked how Dawson was getting into those boxes and taking in a lot of headers. So just like that, in the last match against Arsenal, Justin was bombing forward, and he came so close scoring a goal. So I think I fancy him for this game week. Let's see what happens. At the end of the day, you can just pick up good players and pick up players who are reaching, who are near that box area, or who are kind of doing good over there. But then let's see what happens. But yeah, I think Justin is a great pick at 4.7. He's not in the table right now, but at 4.7, he's amazing. Apart from Justin, uh, people who do not have a lot of money can probably look at Dan. Almost scored a goal in the last match against Chelsea. He hit the sidebar, and at 4.3, he could be amazing. Dan was in my team. It was very difficult for me to let him go, but I had to let him go because I had to bring in Dawson. But Dan is another favorite of mine, and I personally feel Dan can do wonders as well. Uh, like Akshay mentioned about Garcia, Mendy hasn't played in a bit, and I'm expecting Mendy to be back, and we all know Jesus is very strong when it comes to taking headers. So the guy who is going to ship in all those crosses has to be Mendy, and we know if Mendy is on song, he has the potential to give 3 assists in a game. He has done it before in FPL, so Mendy could be a great shout for this game week against Brighton.
Good points, and but I just feel that City are more prone to Pep Rule because, like you were pointing out before we started recording, that City still have to play the FA Cup and the Champions League as well. Defenders do might not, really get affected by the Pep Rule, but definitely you never know about Pep. So that is something that I might be a little reluctant to get in either Garcia or Mendy, but definitely I myself I'm pretty happy with my defense line for now. And with that, we come to I don't think we should call it goalkeepers anymore, Team Pope. So definitely, but Burnley for a change facing a real strong opposition in Liverpool at Anfield. So that is something that is giving me a little jitters for Nick Pope. But instead of making him a substitute and playing Martinez or Foster, for example, and using a transfer, I'll put in my faith in him yet again and hope for the best. So Nick Pope is the keeper for me to be with. Akshay, you feel that again? Of course, we all know that we are all the three of us are Team Pope. But if not Pope, again, then who?
No, I do plan to stick with Nick Pope despite the fixture being against Liverpool. So he might end up conceding a couple of goals or maybe more, but he'll give you those save points, and he's been doing that for the past few years. And because he's been a good shot stopper, so he'll be there up there with the save points. And if Burnley manage to pull out a result, you never know because their teams under Sean Dyche have been really rigid and they have not conceded a fair amount of goals in a single game. So if Burnley snatch a victory or maybe a draw, Nick Pope could be amongst the bonus. And another fact that I'm not looking to ship him out right now is I don't really want to waste a transfer on a goalkeeper. So that is not a wise move right now because you have so many options in midfield and maybe defense. But whereas you ideally want a set and forget keeper for the rest of the season. So that is what I had in mind earlier and I plan to stick with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and for Nick Pope also, faces Liverpool this game week, and he faces Manchester City in the last game week. And between these two game weeks, he has two real good fixtures, wherein Burnley do face Norwich, our Bang Boys. So definitely a good shout of keeping him in and saving your transfers for either a midfielder or a defender, and even if you want to play a bench boost, it'll be my suggestion for the managers to actually save their transfers for defenders and midfielders to make their bench stronger. Anand, again, I'll ask you the same question. If not Nick Pope right now, then who?
Enough. You can't just think beyond anyone than Nick Pope. Maybe Dean Henderson. Yeah, we all know the qualities that Ederson, Allison, and De Gea has because they play in a very good team. So their teams they have a really good chance of not conceding goal. But then teams like a budget keeper. I think Pope, Henderson really nice because exceptional keepers, exceptional technique, flying like flying foxes in the air. So I think, but again, Pope. But I'm lucky on this bit, luckier than you both actually, because I have Martinez on my bench. Now, the way how Spurs played against Bournemouth, I I mean, there was a record, there was a stat that Akshay just showed me today that they had zero shots on target in the first half, Akshay, or was it in the second half as well? Can you just confirm that?
It's the entirety of the 90 minutes. That's how shit they were.
Okay, Okay, so they had zero shots on target. Now, that has happened for a team playing against Bournemouth. So I don't really expect them to come, all their guns blazing. Although it's a derby, I really don't expect much from Spurs, given how pragmatic they are. I think we discussed it before as well. All the huge respect for Mourinho, what he has, what he has earned or what he has achieved over the years. But I think in the last few years, I personally feel that that I have many analogies. If I start talking about what has gone wrong for Mourinho and his team, I think we will take another episode to talk about that. But let's not go there. Rather, just sticking to what I have been seeing in the last few games, in the last few matches. Spurs look a little off, and Sean Dyche has had decent record against the big oppositions, but then City just a few game week back. I think it was in double game week, and it was their second match. City thrashed them 5-0 or something like that. So um, I like Pope. I like Dyche. His team's looking good. Wood has returned. Liverpool defensively a little fragile as seen against Brighton in the last match. Brighton could have scored a lot of goals, but then I am a little confused, but I am a little tilted towards starting Martinez because Martinez in the last four matches he's given three clean sheets. Even in the last match, Vardy scored in the dying minutes. He could have had four straight clean sheets on the trot. So I'm a little just for this game, just for this match, just to be on the safer side. I'm inclining towards Martinez for this match just because I have to. But if in case you don't have two goalkeepers, Nick Pope it is, Team Pope all the way. And I'll be rooting for you guys if you guys are not bringing in another keeper.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to bring in another keeper. I'm going to place all my faith in Nick Pope. So yeah, that rounds up the goalkeepers as well. So now comes the most important question. I want to stick with Bruno, or do you have some any other player in mind?
The last three game weeks, I've been captaining Bruno. That's not hidden anymore. Uh, you both, I do call you before every match game week, or either you are calling. We all three are on the phone just before the deadline, last 10 minutes. Who do we captain? Who do we captain? There is this guy called Akshat Bhide. So sometimes the most outside person in football, you should just listen to him. Sometimes, people you feel you have a good feeling with them, like you like them, they are your best friends. Just listen to them. Even if they may not know a lot about football, they might just, you know, because the hunch comes from inside. Because see, there are who are really good. KDB, Bruno, or say Martial, or say Mahrez, or there's so many midfielders who are pretty good. And at the end of the day, it is a little bit of luck, which captain does eventually score. But from the last three game weeks, Akshat has been telling me Bruno. Whenever I ask him, who do I captain? Like, I am captaining Bruno. I don't know about you. And that just gives me a lot of confidence because I know that Bruno has been playing well. You all know that Bruno has been playing well. I think the world knows that Bruno has taken the Premier League by storm. You cannot hide that fact. And Bruno against Southampton at home is a big, big choice. I mean, if you're not going for him, is probably because you want to take a little bit of risk. People have been bringing Sterling and everybody else, but yeah, my heart is moving towards Bruno. The stats are moving towards Bruno. My eye test is moving towards Bruno. I will be taking a risk if I don't captain him. That's for sure. I'll be taking a huge risk.
Yeah, most likely I will also end up captaining Bruno or Vardy if I bring him in. But definitely, I'm more inclined towards Bruno after trusting KDB last game week. But he ended up giving 14 after he was my captain, and Bruno just gave 14 without being my captain. So did definitely lose out on that. Akshay, who would be your captain pick, dude?
Yeah, I don't want to jump on the Bruno train and spoil the party for my friends, so I would like them to keep the party going, and I'm not joining that. I'm going with Marshall this week, like he's my captain right now, and I think I plan to stick with him till the end of the deadline. And he's due, man. He looked hungry last night, and when he came off, he didn't look happy, and that's the kind of Martial you want in your team. So hungry for goals and gutted when he's not scored, and that chance when could not score, he was really frustrated. So I can see Martial scoring against Southampton.
Worth noticing about Martial is his he has looked really strong. You know, the way he has been shrugging off defenders of late has been really commendable, and he's commanding his presence. He is not falling anymore. Like earlier, when we used to see, you know, you touch Martial and he would probably, you know, fall down on the ground. You don't see that. So, like a great shout out, Akshay, regarding Martial.
It does sound a great pick. And also remembering the last game, his run to assist Greenwood, I believe, for the first goal that United scores from half line after falling down was pretty amazing. So yeah, that is it for the Game Week 35 plus preview. I really did enjoy sitting back again and hoping that this one at least makes to YouTube after the last one failed because of technical glitches. And we really are trying to be as most possible value for all. Great talking to you again for Game Week 35 plus preview. I hope the arrows are green yet again, and we have started a Discord community. The link to it is in the description. Please go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Your support is really appreciated, and that is why we do this for. And yeah, boys, I hope to see you next week when we discuss everything that happened and how Ings scored against United and looking at all of the essentials 36 plus. It's been a pleasure talking to you all over again. Thank you and have a good one.